Smile. Okay, so what do you think? What's that? Why is it a good quote? Okay, why? Because Benjamin Franklin said it, so it must be good?
It's in our culture, we're trying to give up our freedoms and our rights just to be safe and live with those masks.
You listening, Nate? In our culture, she used the word like we're trying, we're giving up our freedoms, like whether or not we should cover our faces with something that could affect some people's breathing patterns and be adversely affect them like that, or even beyond facial coverings. We're kicking around vaccination mandates, not just kicking it around, but they're really ramping up the implementation of those things. So how are we to react to this? This man's writing 240 years ago when the infringements were things like higher taxes and, could have been worse if you're living under tyranny, which most of human history is, right? They were starting this great experiment, capital G, capital E, of self-governance, trying to establish a democracy or a republic that would be long-lasting. They studied all the Greeks and the Romans and how democracy was started and tried so many places that never lasted. How can we create a republic that's going to last? And we have to be sold out on this idea of liberty, because history shows us that if you don't really work at, just like I can relate it to our Christianity, right? Just if you don't really work at being spiritually in tune with your Father God through the Holy Spirit, you're not going to do it. If you don't really work at being diligent and vigilant about liberty, you're going to lose it. And if you're willing to give it up, as Brenda said, for the security or safety of this virus, then that's dangerous. Or is it? Or maybe you're on the other side. Maybe you're like, you know what? If everybody's dead, then what's liberty mean? So what is essential liberty? So the argument now, today, if we could relate it to today, would be like, a lot of people think essential liberty is my body, my choice, right? In fact, people that have a philosophy of life, or kind of a weird way of saying it, other than most of us, use that phrase all the time, my body, my choice. They have the freedom to do what they want with their body, even though it's not their body, it's another human being. But anyway, but applying that to what was brought up about the vaccines, that is an essential liberty that you determine what goes in your body. Is there anyone that doesn't think that's an essential liberty? That you should have the freedom, the autonomy to determine what gets injected into your body. For instance, you go to the hospital and they say, this is what you have to have to live. And you say, nope. Do you have to take it? Do you have to take the medicine the doctor prescribes for you? No. Is this an essential liberty that we should have the freedom to choose what gets injected in our body? That's a simple question. If you're all thinking that's true, okay, how lightly do we give that up? Should there ever be a time to give it up? Never? Ben Franklin doesn't say never. He says to purchase a little temporary security, then you deserve neither liberty nor security. What he was saying was, look, if you're going to attempt to do this thing and have personal, individual liberty, and you're willing to give it up easy, you don't even deserve it. And if people are going to put their lives and their honor and their sacred honor, their fortunes on the line, their sacrifice, you're not worthy of their sacrifice. So when would it be okay? Because the people that are saying, the people that are agreeing that all these mandates should happen are saying it. Not all of them are power hungry, like they just want to dominate your life. Some of them are coming from the point of view that, hey, this is what's best for everybody. This is how to keep our society safe and secure. Yeah.
Why are these are a lot of the people who want like the mandates for like the vaccine and stuff. They're also the people who say my body, my choice for abortion.
I know, it's weird. Yeah.
They want no choice for vaccine, but they want a choice for like killing babies.
It's a very confusing times, isn't it? Our culture isn't, like, it's not just chaos like with the riots of 2020 and the January 6th incident, physical stuff. It's like, ideologically, right? The ideas out there are just bizarre, confusing. I mean, if I was you, I mean, it's confusing for me. I can imagine 17, 18, you haven't even really established, some of you have, but some of you are still kind of like trying to figure out, right? A lot of things, and you're like, what is going on? Like, how can the people that say my body, my choice, by and large, those same people are saying, we demand you get vaccinated. And if we're going to, here's the thing that Ben Franklin would say, if you're going to give up that essential liberty for some, we're hoping, we're all praying that the pandemic's temporary, right? But here's the thing, the fear is, and what Ben Franklin knew from his study, that if you give up your liberty, you don't just take it back. The people in power, and again, it's not because the people in power necessarily are power-hungry, crazed people just want to control their life. It's just how it works. It's how systems of government work. When government has that power, they tend to not, you don't get it back lightly. Took a revolution. A lot of people dead to make it happen. So do we want to give it up for temporary security from a pandemic? And how big is the pandemic? I said, would there be any point you'd be willing to give it up? And some of you said no. There's nothing. You wouldn't give up your liberty for anything. Is there something you might give it up for? Because how are you going to handle the accusation that you're just selfish? If your answer was, then there's nothing worth giving up liberty, what kind of civic-minded Christian are you? That you wouldn't want to relinquish any of your personal liberty for the sake of society? What were you going to say?
I mean, in regards to like a vaccine, if it was a virus that was like actually going to kill everyone, like no one will survive it, if the statistics weren't like what they are now, what COVID is, then yeah, probably get a vaccine to save like human race, but
Everybody here?
not if there's research that shows otherwise.
Anybody got a response to that? If you didn't hear, Brennan said, if it was a virus that was statistically very deadly to a lot of the population, you're saying you'd be willing maybe to
get it.
Hey, we all got to get vaccinated. This thing's got to stop like now. Anybody has anything to say to that? Because of those that are pushing for the mandate or say they support it, they'll bring up things like polio and smallpox. Well, historically, when smallpox entered a community, you would have, if someone got smallpox, 30% mortality rate. Big word for how many people are going to die. What percent of the people are going to die if they get smallpox before the vaccine? 30%. Whoa, that's pretty high, right? And what condition of health were they in before they got smallpox? They could have been perfectly healthy, got smallpox and died. Whoa, that's pretty high rate, right? Are we willing to give up essential liberty for a virus that among the whole population, these are people that get the virus, the mortality rate is between 1 and 2, 1.6. And if you're not elderly, obese, diabetic, heart disease, or some other serious medical condition, then your chances of survival are 99.8%. Now you factor in, those are just people that get the virus. By the way, I'm about to say a statistic that I think it's crazy, and you might think it is too. Now, this surge has probably lifted the numbers a little bit, but last month when I looked into it, only 10% of Americans have gotten the virus. Raise your hand if you thought it would be way more than that. Like just tested positive, I should say. You didn't think that more than 10% of people had tested positive? I did. Because I guess I know, I guess it could happen to my family. But if you look at the stats, last month there was only like 33 million some cases. I was like, what? sure seems like a lot more, doesn't it? Not 330 million. Anyway, so if you take all 330 plus million people in the country, what's your chances of getting the virus and dying? 0.02%. 0.02%. So we have half of our society that's saying they're willing to give up essential liberty for that amount of security. And if that's the case, how much liberty do we really have left? Does that all make sense? Unless somebody has something else they want to say, question, comment, refute what I'm saying, if you think I'm saying something that you disagree with. No. Don't all lives matter? Isn't it enough if we save one person? Joel, should we do all we can to save one person? So, not so. By the way, this is, I got to confirm this. I shouldn't even say it because I didn't see it myself. But someone said, so I'll just throw it out there and I'll check it out. Remind me tomorrow that the military is now mandating the vaccine, which they were not mandating, and go ahead. What?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Like certain army posts are like mandating or like giving out sexual.
But the report to me was mandating, like, the first mandate was, and what a lot of people are going through, my son, is that you either get the vaccine or you have to be tested 2-3 times a week. Some of your parents are going through that because they haven't been vaccinated. So they're like, okay, I'm not getting vaccinated for whatever reason, and I guess I'll do the test, keep my job, stay in school, whatever. Well, now that's morphing into, okay, that's not working, because they thought, who wants to go through the news? They tried everything, right? Lottery, bribery, whatever. And they still can't get as many people vaccinated as they want, because they want 100%. But the story was told to me that if you're in the military now, you can't, there is no refusal. And they'll just, like, literally hold you down, I guess, put the needle in you. I don't know. Is that possible? Well, would anybody be okay with that? Okay, so what's the alternative? Because you're not going to be okay with the alternative either. What's the alternative? At this point, what would be the alternative?
There you go.
Okay, so what's that mean? Let's say 30%, it might be more, let's say 30% of the US military does not want to get the vaccine. They're just not, they don't feel it's safe enough, they don't know enough about it. 30% say they don't want it. So they're forced with either forcibly having it injected in them or leave it. So what could that be? Or your police force. Or how about this, another family member of mine. How about if your hospital organization says you have to be vaccinated? I'm taking up too much time over this, okay? Your hospital says you have to be vaccinated, which I was going to say, by the way, isn't it kind of weird that there's like at least 30%, last I saw, of healthcare workers that have been working with these patients and they're still not wanting to get the vaccine? What happens if 30% of all the nurses and doctors just walk out because they said, no, I'm not doing it? What happens then? But I think the government's counting on, we can't afford not to do it. So, at that point, are you giving up your liberty like you said at the beginning? Or are they actually taking your liberty? Difference, right? Any other comments, questions? I forgot to, crossword puzzles are on the printer if anybody wants to go get them. Teachers Thanks. Hey, no more comments? Come on, speak up. Some people, I only hear from a couple people. Somebody, I know other people have opinions. Listen, even if your opinion is everybody should be vaccinated, and if they don't want vaccinated, they should be held down and vaccinated, please, I mean, that's a valid opinion. Everybody's opinion is valid. No one's gonna attack you, right, Sam? We want you to be able to, we have to be able to speak and discuss. So Brenna and I having a conversation. That looks nice, doesn't it? So our notes are done. The test is Wednesday. Does anybody in this class make Quizlets? Gianna made one? Have you seen it? Sounds like it's only Monday. Why did I see the Quizlet yet? Test is until Wednesday. I can do that tomorrow. Why do today what you can put off till tomorrow, right, Sam? Hey, that's not good. Doesn't it go, why put off till tomorrow what you can do today? Oh, that's what it's supposed to be.
Me? Oh,
I was literally just gonna go through the notes again for questions, but the crossword puzzle serves as a review. We'll review again tomorrow.
Why 57? Because I love number 5 and I love number 7 and Gianna 5 and Gianna 7. Hey, I'm okay with that. You're still at the answer. Yeah, I will. I'm gonna make one tonight or tomorrow, just for my own studying purposes too. But like, I'm just on I make physics notebooks just for my own studying because it helps me study, and I like making myself complicated, so like I have to memorize every little. Yours are very complicated. But you know what? I memorize every aspect of it. Actually, the journal books, I can't memorize. Jordan, you only do this class for this. Hey, Jordan, you should definitely do this. I have one. I know, but what's the fun doing it by yourself when we can do it together?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Haley. And then no, I didn't. Dude, literally so usually these are oh, man. I said love you. No. Lots of things.
There are other days I don't think.
You really think I would know how to spell it? I would just know.
I sure heard a little bit.
No, it's not sis. I have 100 letters. You're in the right neighborhood. It's the wrong letter word. Law. No. It's easy. Read the question. Jesus Christ. The Holy Spirit. And Trinity. God. Oh my God. Every letter is a different word.
Are the 48,000 better than yours?
Christ is the what, Messiah? One down? Yeah, one down. No, one across. No. I get it down for the crosswalkers.
Right.
What type of papaya is rice?
Sure.
What? Oh, never mind. Sorry. I don't know.
The other thing I would like to say is
I don't think so. Dude, send potatoes like, so here.
that's very hard.
Oh,
Very
geez.
hot.
I'm sure, well, yeah.
Oh, I'm
Great, absolutely.
Wait, no, that's all. 7.5. That's having both special and general. They both end with an L. I think we want to do it because he only has one general. I think. We won't fit too because what? Yeah. Wait, what's the now? General is. Let's talk
2 days sick.
Oh, so you never.
Of COVID, I had a positive test, but not antibodies.
Oh.
Like I've never
Okay,
had.
wait,
Yeah.
wait, 26 across is the other one.
Really, really sick.
Put 12 down, runs into it. And 12 down is
I'm on 16.
12 down is
Oh.
Well, that's blank property, so. It can't be private.
It's private,
Yeah.
It's no big deal, but yeah.
Wait, 16 is private property. We're not talking about something else.
private property is 12 down.
Oh, 12.
What's 16?
Yeah, it was, I mean, it was.
Oh, how
I don't see like
about
the. Holy.
Okay, is it blue or what?
Brandon testing.
Like 77.
What is the governance?
Well, the bank right now, they're closed. Friday should. So it's just gonna be. So they finally.
13.
Trinitarian.
But,
16.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is it? They just. Would it just be the first? Oh, yeah, there's. Oh.
They got a spirit.
I was good to like.
It's 24 dollars. I don't know.
I can do it every post couple hours, take a breath and count to 10. While I had it.
Yeah.
Like, can't do that.
Oh, you supposed to like.
I don't have enough flow here.
What?
It's slow.
You wasn't, yeah.
To really test that. I didn't have a pulse ox. My mom has one.
You can get that bad.
I'm just gonna skip.
Probably fatigue.
Fatigue, the nausea, the accident,
What is
diarrhea,
really not?
and cough.
Which one?
Ears hurt. That's how I knew, that's how I
I was the
tested
worst
that.
fatigue.
It can't be your spirituality. It's just spirituality.
Oh, no.
Actually, I think now, I was just.
No, it's not the Marxism. It has to be.
What kind of Messiah is Christ?
Yeah.
Oh, how do you spell that?
Spirituality or I think that's.
I actually don't think.
Because you're really smart.
I did kind of feel
You
it.
can't That's so, Jordan, high school crops is not like, I don't think that's right. It doesn't cross into Never mind, I got it. It's too many Boston. Did you? I got it, actually, I was
Did you
listening
get
to the
15
Boston.
across?
I'm saying
We're
this.
16.
And then 15 across, which, yes. One sec, I'm trying to find it. It's all the way in sociology. Oh, okay. Sorry, I was trying to.
No, that one is been on the other one, didn't it?
Yeah.
Marxism.
I was thinking that was a part. No,
Twenty-two is
no,
Marxism, please.
16 promises.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, cause of
Wait, it's
No, that doesn't.
in the notes,
Something later, like, well,
I think it's sociology. On the lane 23.
they were still.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not.
Somebody confident of getting a test. So he goes and gets a test now.
What's the study of the Marxist? Moral theology or biology? Have one?
I started.
Trinitarian.
Hopefully that actually fits in school.
Oh, yeah. I'm stupid, I forgot psychology. I don't know, what's 16 across?
Hold on, 16 down. Oh,
Cause it's
I
like,
don't know, I was
H
trying to.
in the middle is
That's what I was trying to find. Psychology?
yes,
how's it?
26.
I have to go back up and
No. I already put one on. Okay, I need, for 17.
Yeah.
Is there another revelation somewhere, or is that also now?
I think I should move 7.
And one down. One down is constant. So 26 has to start with an S. No.
Why can't that be in the?
Yeah.
I don't remember what.
26. I bet $10.
I just can't find 16 down, that's the only thing I'm stuck on.
Okay, then you'll get $10. The universal spirit. Come on, I got $10. Oh! $10. I was never more sure.
One down is constant.
Oh. What?
Oh,
that's
you know better.
I
didn't write that.
And then 7 across.
What is that?
It's called
Intelligent. But don't, thing is not a
No,
thought.
I didn't, yeah, I didn't even play though, like, in
Yeah, there isn't, I can see that's thought.
number 1 down is consciousness. I don't think it's one we're not, sometimes we just go over it together. Oh, it's 19. You asked for some.
What do you need? I need.
So 6 should be utopia, right?
Well,
Utopia.
I need 2.
1 should be from
16, 19.
Jordan, I'm 170 across. What did I go?
So we went home, almost home, like,
14. I did, 15 is spirituality.
So once you deposit it,
15 years. Did you turn it in? It's right over. Do you still have yours? Did you turn it in?
Which one are you talking?
Oh, no, I don't.
I think we're keeping it because it's study tool.
16 is.
And it's Wednesday. Wait, no, it's not.
It's Wednesday, so technically we can turn them in if they get them by tomorrow.
I really think we'll just keep it.
I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, I think we'll keep it. I never used that to study, so. Because the notes are hard to get more than that.
Yeah, I just use the notes. It's usually like,
It's too hard to use this because of the, I get lost. It's too confusing.
like sometimes it's
I
a little bit unrelated.
Yeah.
Some of the words in there are literally.
Also, when I said laws, I was like, laws.
Yeah.
Laws.
Yeah.
I was like really confused. It should have been singular.
Yeah. But, okay, I spelled psychology wrong on one page of my notes, and I knew the answer to psychology one. I wanted to fit.
See, I have my computer, so it starts.
It's
So it would have.
Okay, the way we do our college, it doesn't autocorrect for like spell checks. You have to see it yourself. So don't hit turn it in and they don't capitalize with
My post, I just do mine on Docs. I mean, all spell checks, Canvas spell checks. It does.
Are you using Canvas? That's what we're using.
Yeah, it's spell checks, and grammar checks.
So then what's the, we have to, everything with our.
How does yours not spell check?
It's Microsoft Word.
Oh, well, Canvas, I use already copied.
I have to keep Microsoft Word open at all times because I don't know how I got it.
How do you get a Microsoft Word on your phone?
Bookmark.
I mean, I have a Microsoft Word account that is Canvas Nation.
Oh,
yeah. But I don't use it. I just use the Canvas or Docs. You can do Canvas Docs or Microsoft Word, and there's another one you can do. It took me forever. It took me the entire class. It took me all summer to figure out how to like basically math and Canvas. But now I love it. Now I actually like how to do it. I hated it.
No, it's easy enough if you figure it out.
Well, like at close. At close. No one gets it.
Ours is hard because Penn is in a whole process of switching every class from every campus from Blackboard to Canvas. So that's.
Students always use Canvas because they
Like, it's
just
really, there's a disclaimer when you get on Canvas that during like the second and fourth Tuesday and Thursday of each month, during certain times might not be able to use it, so it'll be under vacation.
No, that's how Peterbilt always has a library. All I'm not doing is the writing workshops. You need to make sure when you have to do writing workshops, if you have a board, essay, something like that. I don't know. I
I booked mine tonight whenever I.
Yeah, I had more essays than that. But like I had like say it was how many do yeah, but this is how many. And they give you 2 of them because one of my cousins schedule it. Like everyone was cool and everything like they want. Also summertime though you can always do it. There are weekends. And then summertime you only have like till 5:30. So I was like, I can't decide. He's like, yeah, it's a different job.
My first essay is it's only
biology.
it's only my essay is only worth 10 points too.
You're okay. That essay. Well, the last essay you do is like 9 pages. I wrote mine on why government enrollment, like too much government funding is bad, and we should do private charities.
Okay, I wrote a 2-page paper.
Mine on the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, but
Mine's on
what's the point of
You
that?
can, but you just have to be careful.
What's the pursuit of happiness point out if you don't have Jesus?
I don't know. That's what our
Because
next
that's
my
what
husband is having about.
Jordan, what's the first thing you're supposed to do when you get this?
Name in it.
Throw it away.
All right.
If I lost it, I couldn't use that in my own thing.
I know, but I found about a half dozen of them.
It's because we don't require it, we don't have to take it to the back anymore, so no
I
one
get it.
wants it. It's 1:30. Can we go home?
Mine's not either. Because there's no good place to put it. Like, it's because they got rid of the name line.
Yeah,
That's why.
yeah, they got rid of the name line. So nobody knows the name. I know, it's behind all of,
Oh.
it's at the beginning of the
It's right there.
Yes.
I know, like, they like spend some similarities. This is all extra.
Champions are made in off-season, Brenna.
That's all extra.
That's from handbook. Not extra.
It did not come with plans.
Alright, then yes, this is extra.
Nancy, I don't know what's up with you this year.
Nothing's up.
You're so quiet.
That's what Abby said.
See, I'm not the only one noticing.
No, Abby told me that's what you said.
Oh,
I just have nothing to say. I don't open my mouth unless it's being public.
really? This is what's going on. You know how crazy people are, right? You know how crazy people are, right? You see, have you ever seen things that sell anyway? So what if I put this on? What if all the other so full? Then my guys going
My friends don't.
really rich person that was a huge, well, like that. I just look on there and someone.
Abby made this up.
What is that?
$1,000.
Oh, one of these, 100 of them. Probably Mrs. Green, she would buy. This is my retirement. Over there, all the other bodies. Someday.
You got 12 kids.
Some
I swear you
philanthropist,
normalize it every day.
a lot of
I'm not even
regular.
kidding. It's a good thing. It's really good.
I know.
I'm walking out. I mean, it doesn't.
Okay. Ow, oh my god.
Be
A lot
careful.
more
I don't know. Like, the nerve. Yeah. I mean, at least I'm being here, like, and so if I don't have to, he's trying to
What do you mean?
You know what?
My house is.
Todd is there,
All right.
because he's working, so he's there. Thank you.
Madison, I was on that YouTube channel, the video still wasn't up.
Yeah, I know.
Days that we missed, so we like, I like Jones better.
Do you?
Yeah, I like algebra.
But I don't like about subject.
What do you have next?
Death.
Some people are asking.
Yeah, I feel like people.
Allie, Elena,
All my other classes are full. What's up with this one?
Allie is.
Allie made me somewhat sick.
Rice is sick. Yes.
No, Bryce actually is sick.
Yeah.
Are we taking notes today?
Ladies and gentlemen, while I do the attendance and get the video going, it's time for you to ponder the quote on the screen, so that when I'm done with this, you either oops.
Do you have anything for me to grade?
Actually, I don't yet. You will either,
Something to do?
ask a question about what does it even mean, or you'll have some commentary before we get back into the notes. What is Benjamin Franklin saying?
Look, I'm like.
Jake, what do you think? I'll be right with you.
He's like, I never read it.